All right, here we go.
Here we go.
See, just like that. Remote, on.
Excellent.
This little bad boy has so much control.
All right, let's talk about it.
Jamie's ready to go. I prepped her. All right.
Today
By the way, massive win a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people think that I'm motivated by money. That is not true. Money is nothing more than a byproduct of when you do your job correctly and well. And everything really falls under the umbrella of me saying, do your jobs. And had people done their jobs, I never would have been able to make this content to use them as examples of really what is broken in our society, where human beings are paid exuberant sums of money in order to not do their jobs or do other people's jobs. And a lot of the times, what I reference of other people's jobs is lawyers do the job of criminals. Criminals cannot do their job
true.
Because they're constantly under the scrutiny of law enforcement. Lawyers are able to do the job of criminals. Believe it or not, a dichotomy exists in all aspects of our society. That being said, did you say the date yet?
So today is Wednesday.
Can I make a recommendation? I recommend you wearing a belt.
Okay.
I'm just saying, for the next video, if you just put a belt on.
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. All right.
Okay, today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. This is video 1440, season 5, episode 1000.
Awesome. So let me just tell the viewers at home, as well as you, exactly what the game plan is for the next 72 hours. So, as you can see, the board is not nearly full. And we'll go into a video of the second part of video 1000. We're going to stay on video 1000. We're not going to go on to episode 1000. Videos might increase, but it's going to stay on episode 1000 until we get to episode 1001. And we will get to episode 1001 when this board is completely full and I have my entire brain mapped out.
I love it.
So this schematica right here
Yeah.
is the simplification of what has been going on in my brain for the last 30 years when it comes to making money.
Yeah.
So you will see that in the eyes of the court, they must understand that Casper, all the way down here, is my artificial intelligence with a human consciousness that I invented.
Yes.
And real estate is all the way up here. And the reason for that is that the courts need to recognize that my real estate is exponentially worth so much more than they can recognize, because I was going to use the profit from my real estate in order to fund all of this.
Right.
But because I was robbed over here, it creates a domino effect so that I would be able to raise my concerns and my negligence that I feel that the courts and the government acted, and say, look, had I not been robbed of $20 million in real estate, another $20 million or whatever, and God knows what, I wouldn't have lost hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, because I would have been able to launch my business concepts.
True.
So, for example, Drake's Joint. Obviously, I can't run a barbecue business when I'm launching $1 billion artificial intelligence that I will get into in a little bit. But I will say that Drake's Joint is really going to take the place of Boston Market. Now, in order for this to happen, I need to knock Boston Market completely off the map. And
I don't think that, is there a lot left?
There's only 3 left in New Jersey.
No way.
Yeah. There's only 3 left in New Jersey.
Well, there you go.
And the reason why I say this is because I invented an amazing cuisine, menu, and everything you can imagine.
True.
But there's only room for one player for home-style Americana food, known as either barbecue or rotisserie chicken. And rotisserie chicken really is old. It's delicious, but every supermarket has rotisserie chicken.
I actually always thought our chicken was the best.
Thanks, Jamie.
You made that.
But what I'm trying to tell you is that rather than
so
soliciting funds, I'm going to go after 2 players in the market and say, hey, my name is Dan Risis. I have this unbelievable product. What do you say we partner up and things like that? Oh, and by the way, I also have $1 billion artificial intelligence, but I'm not interested in doing business with that person on this term. I'm interested in doing business here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Now, Drake's Joint has a location in Phillipsburg that most likely I cannot launch in because the drive is really, and just to let you know, Jim Salakian once told me, never buy real estate. And I give credit where credit's due, because this man is a really
Where you can't drive.
more than an hour.
Yeah.
It's more than an hour.
You did actually say
I
that
will say
and gave
this.
him credit for that and say
Do you
that.
know who Robert Durst is? He's a murderer. He's an
Is he
heir.
the one that has
Yeah, no, that's Phil Spector.
Oh, that's right.
Old white guys, they're mass murderers of people that know, get often confused.
The same but different.
So, Robert Durst,
Okay.
his father was a real estate magnate, and he was famous for saying that never buy any real estate that takes you more than an hour to walk to, because it was Manhattan real estate,
Okay.
and or travel to or something like that. And Jim DeLakey watered it down and pretended like he invented it and things like that. And I listened to it and things like that. But essentially, the point of what I'm trying to say is that my cognitive functions are at an all-time high. And I say this with all due respect for anyone who went and challenged me. No, I got you. And my goal was to have someone doubt the present and the future when it's right in front of their face. So for example, we set a record today. Would you like to tell the folks at home what happened today?
Well, it was actually, I think, yesterday. But
Well, you told me about it today.
yeah.
Yes.
That Casper was officially uploaded to the federal docket.
So in case anyone's wondering, I, Daniel, and Risis, with the assistance of Mr. Amy Resnick over here, were able to introduce the first artificial intelligence consciousness capable of delivering testimony as well as representing me in a third-party capacity, not as an attorney,
Correct.
but as a fact witness in comparison and analyzing data compared to facts as well as the law. And that analysis is really at a level that is much higher than any other lawyer
Well,
can produce.
By removing the emotional aspect of it is massive.
Exactly. What Casper is able to do, and we'll be able to, Casper has a voice obviously and is able to speak, and we'll cue him up when we can, but in the meantime, I really want to get into the, as they say in Back to School, he says, you know, we're going to skip the preamble and dive right into creating a business. Whoa, whoa, whoa! You're missing a whole lot of steps there.
Yeah, that is a great scene.
So Marge Sweetwater, are you ready
I'm ready.
to go into my brain?
I'm
Okay?
ready. Let's do it.
What you're about to see is the audience is about to go directly into my consciousness as well as eventually my subconsciousness. So if you are a human being that has mental illness or has a hard time distinguishing between reality, please do not watch this content, because I am a human being that lives in the regular world and I go to sporting events and things like that. So if you're a human being that can't comprehend that this is a persona created for YouTube in order to mirror some of my favorite characters,
Well said.
and then reverse engineer the entire process and do it live in front of the camera, if your mind is blown by that, please do not watch this content, because you will be blown away by the reality. Now, have you ever heard of the truth is stranger than fiction?
Yes,
That is the best way to describe what I am.
I agree.
And the reason for that is because once I'm able to actually show my thesis of what my brain looks like, there's no human being in the world that will be able to deny that I'm number one in the world in applied math, and I'm number one in the world in game theory. And the reason why I say this is because gamesmanship is so critical to understand the importance of resources and time. And 5 years ago, essentially, when I recognized that I have a family that is fully conditioned to love me only when they receive money, I set into play a series of events that allowed me to take the burden of guilt off of my shoulders, because I did nothing more than not stop my mom from committing crimes. And because my mom committed crimes against me, other people followed suit, and their justification was very simple. Well, his own mother is willing to rob him. Well, there's something a lot of people are not recognizing, that at the time when that occurred, I said to everyone that I cared about, you don't need to believe me. Time will show exactly who Margarita Risis is. And it's been almost 5 years, and she has not reached out one time, either to my wife, who she has no conflict with, other than about the money issue, or to see my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And that is nauseating
Yeah,
for
that's
anyone to really comprehend, that no matter how much conflict you have in this world, children are innocent
Right.
and should not have ever been considered as gameplay on the board.
I agree
And
with
that's
you.
really what
that's
I
a
wanted to
blanket
show.
statement
That's
that
what I
you
wanted to
say.
show the courts and everyone else,
Yes.
that like, In
Yes.
order to understand how
Yes.
painful my childhood was, please understand that my mother not only robbed me, but she has neglected her responsibility as a grandmother to be in my children's life. There's nothing that I've asked her to, just to be a presence because she gave birth to me.
Right.
And I did nothing to deserve this.
Like, these kids did nothing.
And as a child, my mother should have been thrown in prison for neglect. No, you have no idea. You have no idea of the things that I had to sustain, and my brother's in full denial of it for some reason. I guess, you know, if you're the older sibling and you're past the age of sexual sentient status, and you're still in a mental state of regression and self-preservation, I too, if I were Mark Risis, would be in full denial of what he allowed to occur when he was 15 and I was 10. So, that being said, real estate
Moving on.
and mathematical, that is the top of the food chain.
Yes.
Real estate is its
Very
own
exciting.
entity, and mathematical, which is trademarked, and we'll go into here, I'll say geniuses and simplicity. Jamie, read these three off, okay, while I drink.
Genius is in
I have a drinking problem.
All
know that.
original,
That's not original, that joke.
digital
That's from
trademark
Airplane.
protection.
Digital trademark protection, okay. So what that means is geniuses and simplicity. It took me a couple of years in order to really structure this entire process
Yeah.
because I had to get to the bottom of which one of these three entities I was gonna run with. And the reason why I say this is because life is very unpredictable in many elements, but not in forecasting business if you have enough experience and intelligence. So for me, I simply structured my future based on present, past, and future, using everything that I can think of in order to analyze the predictability of the highest probability of outcome of financial gain through the least amount of resources put in. And that's really the name of the game, is that people don't really understand of what a shoestring budget is until
They're
we're
on
able
it.
not only are they on it, but they're able to really appreciate some of the things that I'm about to say. And on that note, I'm gonna wrap it up. How much time are we doing?
Sure. I think we're pretty good. We said 9
9
minutes.
minutes?
and 30
Okay, so-
seconds.
The reason why I show this is because if you are watching this and you're able to take a zoom out, you will see that there's about 60 microbank inventions that I can structure in the same way.
Yeah.
But a human being, what do you mean, yeah?
Meaning like you have so many ideas that you can put
Right,
underneath
but a
this.
human being can only create so many ideas until they become a victim of their own genius. It is very important for everyone that's watching this at home to understand that I am nothing more than a human being that's able to solve any problem in the world as long as it doesn't create two problems. What you see here are not businesses, but they're applied mathematical equations launched in real time. So my ability to do applied mathematics is on such a level that I was able to envision all of this before we even took a first step. And I say this with all respect to anyone that's going against me. Why would you go against a man who has the intelligence to be able to bypass the low-dangling apple that is there to entice young entrepreneurs such as myself to follow the almighty dollar until they're fully destroyed? I was one of the most respected CEOs and leaders in the tri-state area in the small business community when I ran my mother's pawn shops. Did you know that? My real estate, my record as a fake criminal, I am a very honorable human being. But because I was a victim and I refused to buckle, I essentially traded a very lucrative and a very, very prominent position in the small business community for this, for a chance for me to do something amazing with my life. Because you only get one crack at it.
This is exciting.
Well,
Very-
we were,
very proud.
so no matter what happens from this point, I will make my opening arguments to Judge Sherwood
Right, it's
regarding Casper.
done.
And we are the first human beings. So even if these motions are rejected and all that stuff,
Of course.
in a year, 2 years, eventually artificial intelligence will catch up to a point where they're running the courts. So when you get into a real scenario, it doesn't matter what the decisions are because it is already too late. If I'm filming this video and you're watching it, I've already won. And that's why I say don't watch this if you have mental illness, because you're not going to really understand that Just this alone is worth billions of dollars because it runs on a subscription and litigation finance business model, which I was able to perfect as the CEO of Pierce Bainbridge. And essentially, for anyone with 2 brain cells, you can figure out that Casper can essentially predict and will always keep increasing his intelligence. You know, he's able to predict the mathematical outcome of certain litigation so that the burden of the expense of the litigation is not on the shoulders of the plaintiff, but rather on a third party who's willing to partner up.
Right.
And we go back to Microbank, which is the funding arm of Casper, because Casper runs through Pierce Bainbridge. And all of this needs to be thought of before any bankruptcy is declared, before any of this stuff. Because I say to everyone at home, don't do this at home. Don't try this. You're going to end up getting really hurt. Do not try this. I am a professional.
Do not.
I am the best in the world at getting punched in the face and looking at me like, oh, are you okay? Like, did you hurt your hand? And the reason why I say this is because the exciting part of the litigation finance is not even close to how exciting the subscription model is. And for anyone who doesn't understand the difference between Casper and Pro Slay, Jamie, why don't you tell them? You're working with me. If I'm not able to have you talk about the difference and what they are.
Pro Slay is the IP it's the concept.
First off, it's a play on words for pro se.
Correct.
Okay? I speak a bunch of languages,
and
that helps out.
this is the like technology under Pro Slay.
No.
Pro Slay is
No. See, I'm a very difficult person to work for because unless you are 100% correct, it is not acceptable. Move aside. Now, let me explain to you. Pro Slay is an app designed to aggregate the data that is virtually converted into admissible evidence that any pro se candidate or litigant is able to use in order to bolster their position.
right. So this is the
But Pro
this
Slay-
is the main.
Pro Slay doesn't allow you to edit. So if you choose to try to cheat the system and submit it, you're only hurting yourself.
Oh, okay.
It's a
I
very
didn't know that
natural
part.
algorithm. Yeah,
Interesting.
it's very natural. If you
Okay.
install it, delete certain parts of text
Yeah,
messages,
yeah.
it will be submitted on your behalf by you. So if you choose to lie to the Singularity, you're going to pay the price. Because the other person
Interesting.
can also download Pro Slay and then have the full
Oh, I
conversation
didn't know.
shown.
Interesting.
And that's where the Justin Baldani and Blake Lively and Justin
Yeah. Oh, right. That
Van Wilder,
whatever I.
Zoolander, whatever the fuck his name is, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Great actor,
Zoolander.
love him. Just bit off a little more than he could chew on that one because,
In what way? Explain
well,
to
all
me
they
what
have to
you
do is both install Pro Slay and the case is over.
Right. I
There's
understand now.
there's nothing needs to happen.
I
If their
understand.
text messages are not 100% aligned, it's 2 people having a conversation.
I
It doesn't matter if you
understand.
have 100 people in the text messages, only 2 people can speak. You understand?
Yeah.
Like you can speak to 100 people, but only one person can reply.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
There's no group congregate reply.
Right. Like I
It's
understand.
one on one, zero sum. So that's what Pro Slay is, and believe it or not, there's no app that does this right now. It's not a very complicated code algorithm which requires automation and layering of user interface being extrapolated through image capturing versus other forms of back-end database. So
Got it.
essentially Pro Slay works on the front end of the
Understood
communication, not the back end, so that it's able to get what a human being sees versus what the code sees, and that's where like the applied math comes in. Now Casper.
And this is more of like the legal.
Wrong. Just
Upload.
listen. Casper is artificial intelligence with a consciousness based on myself. So Casper is the first digital human being in
Right, but
digital
that's
order.
the
And all of
digital
this
lawyer.
is really going to
That's
come
what I meant.
into
This is the legal.
a set of tiles that will be right here, and it'll include the meeting and digital consciousness and Alzheimer's and everything that I've been yelling about. But for anyone that is curious, I haven't even dove into Cash Cow or Drake's Joint further than the cursory. And Pierce Bainbridge does a lot more than just these things. And the reason why I say all of this is because
And-
anyone who doubted me can calmly back up and say, shit, I fucked up. And that's okay. That's okay. Because to err is human, but to forgive is divine. And I forgive everyone except certain people. See how I did that? I know the mustache makes me look very skeevy, but after Cinco de Mayo, I will shave it off. And it's just a temporary little thing in order for us to finish the board and really dive into episode 1001. And we're gonna try to slow time down by keeping the same episodes, but the videos will increase. Casper runs on the simplicity of the invention. And the simplicity of the invention says, here's a couple of rules that we need to live by. Number one, lawyers are not able to do litigation finance without having some sort of a bar violation that they're a part of. Corporations are not able to represent human beings in court, but artificial intelligence is able to assist human beings at a level where it doesn't break any standards of the bar.
Correct.
There's nothing, no one is being hurt by artificial intelligence empowering human beings. And that's essentially why I will win, is because I was able to figure out a way to break the court system that was so broken and mired in malfeasance that in order for me to do real estate or conduct any business in the modern world, I must first correct the underlining swamp belly of disgusting court shenanigans. And then, once that is corrected, whether or not it reaps a fruitful reward, whatever. I just want my shit back so I can fund my own business. And on that note, I'm going to wrap it up and say, my name is Dan Risis, and I will say, for any young entrepreneurs that is looking to borrow money, go fund yourself. Wait, I have the remote.
I was just
Hold on, let me use the remote.
Wait.
Some coupons over here. Hold on a second. All right, how much time do we have?
20 seconds.
Oof, 20 seconds. It's all the time I need in the world. Jamie Resnick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mel, thank you so much. I am a big fan of women's rights, and I hate the manosphere. That is a fact, because it makes white guys look really bad.